Approaching destination.
Clear the closing doors, please.
I'm Emily Lutzker.
And I'm Anna Kamasia.
Today, International Arrivals speaks with artist Hangama Amiri, who is currently based in New Haven, Connecticut. Originally from Afghanistan, she holds an MFA from Yale University. Her work blends painting and printmaking techniques with textiles in an effort to memorialize notions of home and her diasporic experience. So nice to have you here in the studio. Thank you for coming in from New Haven.
Well, thank you so much for having me, you guys. This is awesome.
Welcome. Like many people who come to live in America, your journey took a circuitous route and doesn't even start in Afghanistan, your cultural homeland, but in Pakistan, correct?
Yes.
And then your family emigrated to Canada from Kabul in 1996, the year that the Taliban took over Kabul.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that journey and your understanding of what place, but also displacement means to you?
Of course. I will take you guys back a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
The few countries that I've actually lived. So we didn't actually move from Canada straight to Kabul. But so I was born in Peshawar, Pakistan in 1989. And that was when Afghanistan was during civil war. And so my parents were still migrating through these borders, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, back and forth. So when I was born, as my mom tells the story that I was born in this refugee camp, but it was apparently a good refugee camp, quotation. But I was like, that's fine. And so they moved back to Afghanistan. And so I remember that I lived in Kabul from 1994 to 1996 when Taliban took over Kabul city. And we flee pretty much like a day or 2 days before they attacked Kabul city. And from there, I remember we went back to Pakistan and we lived in Pakistan for a couple of years until 1998, I believe. And then from there, we become again refugee to Dushanbe, Tajikistan. And it's one of the Central Asian countries. A really beautiful city. They speak Farsi or Tajiki, which is kind of like our language, really unique. So we moved there and we were refugee there until 2005, the early summer of 2005, until we emigrated to Canada, July of that year. So there was a little bit of migration happening through those countries, but not only migration through foot, or through cars, or just by walking, I would say. But we also even in these countries, we moved so many places to places, not only in one apartment. So we kept moving. I feel like that. Mm-hmm. So far that I remember, to be honest, like I'm not exactly memorizing each date or each event, but so far that I know that we had so much moving going on.
What were your parents doing? I mean, how did they survive? Were they working?
Great question. No, actually. So I think my parents, the way I remember, my dad used to work in at a mechanical car shop in Kabul city. My mom was still a housewife, so she was still taking care of us, I guess. We were really still very young. And and then we used to go even to school in Kabul. But after that, when these sort of refugee or migration happened, countries to countries, my dad kept moving, let's say, a footstep ahead of us before we would go to that country. Let's say my dad was already in Pakistan before the Taliban took over even. Because this happens in majority of the war zone countries, especially that a male member has to go sooner or earlier before they would bring a large family back. So in terms of like supporting, like economically, basically. So so my dad was already in Pakistan, and then we moved to Pakistan, and then we lived with him a little bit, and then he moved to Tajikistan, and then he brought his family to Tajikistan. So things like that. And then after that, in 1999, he moved to Europe, Norway, first Norway, and then Denmark. I'll talk about this in my work as well, eventually. And so 1999, he moved to European countries to seek asylum. And then we were still in Tajikistan. That way, he would work in Europe so that he could, support his family back home. So I haven't even seen my dad for 8-9 years. to be honest. The only engagement communication I had with him, or we had with him, was photographs or letters or gifts that he would send. That's all my recollection so far.
And so you never joined him in Europe?
No, because we
Okay.
were refugees in Dushanbe already, so we didn't have any legal paperwork to go anywhere.
And so how was he able to go?
He went basically with the help of few other people and few other families that they call them, illegal kind of.
Oh, so he was an illegal immigrant in
Yes.
Europe.
Illegal
Okay.
immigrant, and then as soon as he went to Europe, he sought asylum. So he kind
Okay.
of, told the government that I'm here, I want to live. So they put these families in a little bit far away from the city in a refugee camps until they get accepted or not. Maybe majority of them got actually deported when American came back in 2001. So things like that. But I think by then he moved from Norway to Denmark, or Denmark to Norway, I think. So he kept moving between those two places too. They're close to each other. Yeah.
And each time having to learn a new language, or I just think
He
man,
learned, yes.
yeah,
He kind of still speak Dutch and Norwegian,
Wow.
actually. Yeah.
amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like I still, even, today I'm 35 years old. I still feel like I don't know half of a story of my father, to be honest. I have more connection of like understanding of displacement or moving places to places with my siblings and with my mom. So my half of story as a woman is very shared with my mom, to be honest,
Yes.
but not so much with our father. So it's another story that I'm still exploring as an artist today, to be honest. Yeah.
And he's now in Toronto, is that correct?
He is in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Oh, he's in Halifax.
They're all in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So did you go to Toronto?
Yes, I
For
lived
school?
in Toronto and for a year, not for a school, just
Oh.
for work and just to explore what the city
Okay.
is like.
Okay, so they're in Halifax. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Halifax was
Near
where
the ocean.
near the ocean. Very cold, guys. Super
Yeah.
cold. But I lived there for 14 years, I think. I did my school, high school, and undergraduate school at NASCAD University. Great school.
Yeah.
And from there, I slowly found myself here in the United States. Mhm.
So how did you get from Central Europe to Canada? What was the so
So-
your dad was in Europe?
My dad was in Europe, yeah. So my dad was Europe in those years because he wanted to bring his family. And that case didn't go through because Afghanistan got back in sort of peace. Americans came back. And what happens with these immigration cases, they send them back. They wanted to send them back. But my dad kept sticking around in Europe until we decided to apply for Canada immigration system. So when we applied for Canadian, citizenship or residential spaces, then in 2004 we got an answer from Canada like we want the family to come. So this was my mom with her 4 children. So she lived, like a very hard and difficult life, I must say. When I see myself right now, like I'm 35, she was 32 back then with
Yeah.
4 kids. So it's like you can imagine, for a second.
And to be alone without your dad and in another new
Exactly.
country. And
Exactly.
yeah.
So, but so through UNICEF, we were supported to come to Canada. And in Canada, we went straight to Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Okay.
So Halifax had our space to live, to work, and so on. And my mom kind of really loved the place, and she never moved from that place since. Yeah.
Amazing.
And then when we became citizen of Canada in 2008, I was about to graduate my high school that year, and we decided to bring our dad. Yeah, so my mom applied for immigration law again, or immigration in Canada. I don't know these words. Sometimes there's so many words, but she applied another case to bring my father to Canada to join us and
at
to
that point,
reunite the family.
Yeah, they had been apart for 9 years, you said.
Yes. So
Wow.
this was a great opportunity for us and for myself and for my siblings to reunite with our dad for the first time in person. And it was really nostalgic. It was very kind of feeling of like strangeness.
Yeah.
Like because you've been so far away from this father figure that you count as father, but he hasn't seen half of your life, or nor we did, right? So that moment of seeing him at the airport, I don't forget that moment. It was strange, but also happy. It was so many emotions at the same time.
Yeah.
And of course, for my mom too, so it wasn't easy, even lifestyle to even reunite. To be honest,
Of course. I mean, she'd
Mhm.
had this life, like with
Mhm,
you and your
mhm.
siblings, I mean, and without
Yeah,
him, and, you know, as much as there's desire maybe or longing or there's still like you've built a life for yourself. You've built a routine, you've built a way of working and being, and
right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it took us a long time to even build that relationship again. You know, this
Mhm.
like a nuclear family. You know, what does
Mhm.
that mean even? Because I don't think
And
I grew up having that. You know,
does he talk openly about his experiences?
it's a good question. I think it was really hard in the
Yeah.
beginnings, to be honest. I feel like these days, I'll talk about this work that I have also done, this exhibition called Reminiscences in 2022. And that series is basically it's a homage or kind of a dedication or a testimony to the story of my mom and dad and the parting kind of situation that they had back then, right? So this entire exhibition kind of documents their stories through, you know, translating photographs or family photographs into textile. And when I wanted to do this exhibition, I wanted to talk with them first. So I wanted to sit with my father and my mom and to ask them, like, I'm really interested in this story. Is there any way for me to see your photographs, the photographs that I grew up with, you know, having and receiving? And is there a way for me to retell this story to audience or such as art? You know, how can I, depict these stories into art? If you guys are interested, I'm in. And they were really happy. You know, there was like a sense of, because since I couldn't get so much answer or in-depth answers to my questions from my father per se, but when it came art, he kind of opened up in a very joyful
Oh, interesting.
space because like art has that sort of like a power of fiction, I think. So they feel like art is like a third space for them to like share. You know, it's like I'm not painting or I'm not identifying their true identity in my work, but I'm interested in the stories and the things
Right.
that they were taking picture, like the background that they were posing or standing. Like I was interested in those scenes to kind of retell these two different individuals, how they lived two different homes and what that home meant to them. And me as an artist comes to this third person watching these two and growing up with these two visuals. So that space was really safe for them to open up and speak and share their photos with me more and share bits of stories. So I'm still in the process of this exhibition. I'm still in the process of this conversation and getting to know my own family, to be honest.
Yeah. And
So it's been a journey.
what yeah.
Exciting
absolutely.
journey.
Yeah.
Nothing sad, exciting.
No, and the fact that you can turn their narratives into work that keeps growing and building as you're expanding and learning about your father and your mother and more about that whole history.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, guys. It's like when I look back to my mom's photographs, let's say the archives, the photographs that she would send to my father through DHL parcels, like that parcel is so memorized in my head, the yellow box with the red letters. Helvetic, I think, letters or whatever font.
DHL
And-
Helvetica. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But those photographs, she would pose like in a certain way that she kind of reclaims her space. Like she's sitting in her bedroom, she's sitting in her kitchen, as if like kind of sending a message of like hopeful setup. Like she is safe in here.
Right.
You know, she's doing great. And there's another saying is that immigrants always wants to show the best self of themselves to the world, nothing to be too sad or anything. I think that was the dilemma when I saw those photos. I was like, she really wanted to send pictures to my father that like we are doing fine. You know,
Right.
I'm doing fine. Look at me, I'm beautiful
Even if,
still.
exactly. And even if it's every day she's crying
Sure,
and,
exactly.
trying to figure out what's coming next.
Exactly. And all these photos
Brave
were
face.
taken, and all these photos were taken in interior spaces.
Yes.
Just a domestic because, she
Safe spaces.
was
Yeah.
safe
Her
space.
and her space, right?
Her space,
Yeah.
absolutely. And sometimes she would pose with us, So, and then compared to my father's pictures that I received and that I would learn, he would be in the parks, fishing with his buddies or like shopping. So he projected this kind of like a utopic landscape behind, right? This kind of like a peaceful utopic landscape that like he's outdoor.
Right.
You know, he has this access of outdoor, but also shows himself in a very perfect European, maybe man with European clothes already.
But also so traditional in so many ways. Like when you think about the history of paintings and like women were always in these domestic spaces and men were outside in the landscape. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. It really has painted in my history as well, which is really unique to see that.
And for 9 years, they were mailing each other pictures.
Basically, sometimes they would be on the phones for sure. Like phone was so expensive because you have to buy minutes.
Right.
I remember scratching
Phone cards.
phone cards.
It was before FaceTime. That's for sure.
Very much FaceTime. Yes, before FaceTime, before MySpace even.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about this, about the project and about the exhibition, because I know you also had your first solo exhibition. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
An homage to home, which opened at the Aldrich Contemporary Art Museum in 2023 and then traveled to the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art in Kansas City. That was this year, I think. Yes, 24. And that consisted of these large textile works that presented a streetscape, storefronts, advertisements, signage, people in a plaza, I think, along with images of women relaxing in sort of safe spaces of interiors. There's views of fabric stores, hair salons. So tell us a little bit about sort of this journey that you've been on, unfolding your parents' story, and then how that folds into your textiles, maybe.
Yeah, and the works are big, right? They're sort of the size of a sheet, like a bed sheet.
Yes,
is that correct?
More than that. Bigger than Bitcoin Street, I must say. Yeah, they were a little bit immersive, a bit monumental in a sense. That was a beautiful description of the bodies of work. Thank you. Great description. I love that. I think I think the question is, how did I come up with the body and my
sort
relationship?
Of like, the relationship of this body of work to kind of understanding your mom and dad's story, and then how it translates to streetscapes, really, I guess.
Absolutely. Yes, this exhibition definitely has a few pieces of woman representation in interior space too. There's the one piece that I included in the show called her dressing table, and then the other one is woman reclining on sofa. Those are the two pieces that kind of depicts the interior space, but the majority of the pieces kind of, voices into the public domain. It's like woman representation in public domain. So the entire concept kind of came and flourished since my last semester of Yale. Since my last semester at Yale. And this was also during the pandemic. And I kind of started thinking a lot about this idea of like world building, because I was still so invested in my still like childhood memories and how I grew up and who were significant in my life, who played the biggest role.
Right.
And especially those women. It's to really think about it, like even in Kabul, Pakistan, or Tajikistan, the closest connection I had was women, because I'm also woman. I used to remember even on Fridays, women would shop a lot in the bazaars in Afghanistan. I would go with my aunts every Friday, most of the Fridays, and they would buy fabrics for themselves. Shiny fabrics, glittery fabrics, I mean, you name it. An Afghan woman loves tailoring their own dresses, I guess back then in the early 90s, because every one of them wanted to look unique. But all these dresses were kind of sometimes inspired by the Western clothing, long dresses maybe or so. So they would take those fabrics to tailor shops, and sometimes I would be that messenger or that pick up and drop off person. So, and I remember my uncle used to be a tailor. And he owned a little shop as well there in the bazaar. And I would take some of the fabrics to him, and then he would sew for her or for them, for the woman. And majority of his designs were made for men only, but not so for women. But I used to bring to him anyway. Maybe cheaper cost. I don't know. I can't remember. But those kind of fragile memories had such a major impact in my current life. Like when I was graduating from Yale, and I was really into like expanding textile and just the notion of fabric, how much I could stretch this material. And this could stretch so far my world that it was just like unimaginable, to be honest. So the first exhibition that I've done about this kind of like bazaar, this environment, was at my first solo exhibition at T293 Gallery in Rome. And it was called Bazaar, A Recollection of Home. So the entire show kind of constructed and molded a space that are made for women, built for women, and seen by women in a sense, so that women feel belong in this experience. Because
bazaars are mostly managed by men,
so much,
but
so
built
much.
for women, managed by men.
Exactly. Thank you. The thing was that when in my visit of 2010 and 2012 to Afghanistan for the first time, that was kind of changed. I've seen so many beauty salons were run by women, but were built in the center male-dominated space like bazaars.
Right.
So that was my critique, and that was the space that I was so inspired by that, because I didn't see that growing up in the 1996, 1995. So that was like a fragile change, but like a really major change to see women carving their names on the streets, not only through the advertisement or through the visual culture, but also through politics. They would run for, politician seats. Like you would see their banners, beautiful young woman, fully makeup. They were like running for presidential seats. So this was all the experience that I wanted to bring back to my current show, which was a homage to home. So I'm mimicking from that solo show, but also thinking and critiquing the present day of Afghanistan, the nuances that changed.
Yes.
Especially the mobility of Afghan women. Unfortunately, I think I'm thinking a lot about the word silence these days. And it's such a powerful but also very dangerous thing to think these days. It makes me emotional a little bit. It's okay. But the fact that I'm bringing this word is because when I was working at this body of work after 2021, we saw the major effect that happened. It was towards women. The education kind of collapsed for women.
Yes.
The working environment kind of got silenced. Their faces, their advertisements, just the representation of woman identity in public was erased.
Wow.
It wasn't even erased by the fear of the politics or fear of Taliban, but it was erased by its own people, because they didn't want it to go back, or they didn't want it to get caught.
Right.
It was the same
about
kind of
safety.
experience in 1996 that these women experienced back then. So out of fear of their own body, they
Yes.
had to remove themselves from the public.
From the public view.
From the
really.
public
Yes.
view. So all these stores were just like spray painted. And it was by its own people. Taliban didn't do it for some reason. I guess in media we hear different things, but in reality, when I ask my cousins, they tell me a totally different story.
Right.
And that has been also a really unique experience, especially working at this exhibition too.
It's so interesting too, because
mhm.
it's then not about defacing, but it's about anonymity.
Yeah.
Right. So it changes the whole idea of why we might cover something up.
Yeah. It's like silencing again. It's like silencing the voice, silencing the
But
presence.
also about preserving your own sense of self
That's
and,
also
and
true.
your life,
Exactly.
really,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you have to create some form of shelter and some form of protection in those crisis
Exactly.
situation. So I think that entire show right now, A Homage to Home, to come to your question, really builds on not the kind of sad side of it, but more of the hopeful view. It definitely archives the past, the present, and the future, and it questions the future a lot.
Right.
The future of Afghan women, the young women in that country. It is a very dangerous place to live, to be honest, for women
Yeah,
particularly. So for me, I really wanted to bring an exhibition that brings people an idea of to see that fragile movements or fragile improvements that women have made in the history.
Mhm.
And that was kind of like, let me celebrate that moment, because I was also, I've seen it. I've seen my cousins, I've seen my friends working in so many different places. They were working, they were active. But unfortunately, it is not like that these days. But I wanted this show to kind of voice and kind of archive that moment
And it, like you
of
said, you used the
history.
word nuance earlier, and I think it brings a nuance to this idea of sort of eradicating voices or removing voices or, you know, silencing, as you say.
Mhm,
And so I
mhm.
think it brings a nuance that's not always present in what we read about what's going on in Afghanistan.
Yes,
And so I like the way that you talk about it as a nuance and bringing back these moments that are past, present, and future together.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And those nuances kind of takes place like their experiences. You know, it's like these contemporary experiences that they're also being shaped by.
Mm-hmm.
And that could shift into their interior spaces. So this recent body of work that I've been making, it really focuses on still lives, to be honest. It's a very mundane things these days that I'm excited about to work on. And that there's that kind of story of like, you know, the public kind of shut down maybe, and there's more focus in the private, and the private stays private in some parts. And for me, I get the privilege to kind of think about the objects surrounding them, the things that they are busy doing, which is creating food, making table, being in their bedrooms, being in their homes, uniting with other women. So I'm interested in those kind of visual to also include it in my work as well. I guess for me as an artist, my ambition is like never stop speaking about it, or never also silence myself in a way, because I'm using such a loud fabrics too. Like my works are like the material that I'm using, it's not subdued that much. They're shiny fabrics. They are like reflects light, reflects noise, and they're polyester. Sometimes they're so cheap, sometimes they're so rich. Like it's all in the material sometimes.
Well, I want to talk about the fabrics in a minute, but you know, I was really interested in what you were saying about these interior spaces, and you know, we have so many images in the world of, you know, whether it's political violence or war, you know, things happening on the streets and in cities and that are outside, but there's so many people in these places that are just living their daily lives, and we don't see that. So there's something about that kind of window to the interior of you know, of daily life, you know, that's really, it's nice to see. It's also comforting to see.
Yeah, I think for me, when I got really inspired by this sort of theme was also during 2021, because I kept receiving so much communication and text messages from my four relatives, close relatives back home. And all they would send pictures was like around food. And it was really beautiful. It was very simple. I was like, oh my God, that kebab looks really good. And I mean, it's really hard to say those words during that time that it's like country is like literally changing
Yes.
and demolishing in some other form, or molding in this other form that no one knows what. But let's look at this simple thing. It's really beautiful. And they're together, you know, like it's you know, food is such a simple thing, but also such a powerful political thing to think
Absolutely.
about. You know, it's a concept, and it's a form of resistance. You know, it resistance in however way you want it to be, or however way um, you're taking it. You know, food, for many reasons historically, they've been used for many reasons. That's what my point is. Like food identifies our culture, our history, our identity, who we are. It's a space that we could share a certain dialogue. It's a space of protection. It's a space of sheltering. And that's what I was really interested in, that a space of shelter around food these days, or I'm interested right now these days.
And
So
and about home too, I think. You know, when you think about food, it's not only culturally, but it's also
course.
about the food you ate at around the table with your mother or with your family. I think that food carries that sense of home with it as well.
Absolutely. Food carries the taste, the smell, the warmth, the cold, if it's cold, or the sweetness, if it's pastry. I mean, every culture has its own, different taste and different.
But there's something about your mother's cooking too, though. Like for most people,
memories, bringing people together. It's
no,
has
absolutely.
so much, in terms of our emotional lives.
But I think that food politically too is really, like what you're saying, is really important too, to think about how food is political in terms of like what you choose to eat, how you choose to prepare it, what kind of histories are connected to that tradition of food. I mean, I think of Palestine in that context too, of like things that they couldn't grow, herbs that they weren't able to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What plants are being policed, what plants are being taken out and taken over. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, besides making us hungry, maybe we'll go back to the fabric and textiles part of the bazaar, and your work. I mean, I love this: the glittery fabrics and the cheap fabrics, the expensive fabrics, and all this stuff that we kind of put on ourselves to dress or present ourselves to the world. Like, I think all of that is in fabric. Besides that, it's the stuff we wrap ourselves and our things in.
I was just on 38th, between 7th and 8th, I think.
Yeah, fabric district.
Yeah. But that 38th was just all glittery fabric. I don't know. You smiled at me like you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's my street.
It's a wonderland of colors and glitter.
And
exactly.
Sequins and
It's incredible.
Yeah. I was like, I want to dress like this.
Well, that can be arranged, Anna.
Yeah. Might be shocking to my friends, but yes.
Well, I won't be shocked. I'll encourage it. Anyway, we know that, and I know that you've gone to Yale. So, we have a kind of modern canon of Western art, of there being a tradition, here of artists using textiles, mostly women, sort of challenging this notion of women's work, whether it's sewing or quilting or crafting or in whatever way. I think about Judy Chicago and Tracy Emin, among many others, who sort of took back, I put that in quotes, the sort of use of textiles to elevate both the material and the labor that goes into the work. But they used it taking a distinctly feminist stance. So I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about how textile work, weaving, crocheting, sewing, and how you're using textiles are perceived in the Afghan tradition, but also the relationship of this kind of work to women there, and using it in your work, how it relates to your practice.
That's a beautiful question. I think I would love to add this artist, which I'm still so inspired by, which is Faith Ringgold.
Yeah.
I think she was also early 60s challenged this canon a lot in relation to painting. Because there was this one interview that I read then, one of my fabric workshop class at Yale, which was done by Sophie Nice, a friend and a professor as well. And it was a great article that she shared with us. And this was an interview between Sam Gilliam and Faith Ringgold. And they were talking about the language of painting, I think. And Sam Gilliam was kind of, and during conversation, he called out her work as craft. And she maybe got infuriating. She was like, but how can you say that? My work is also painting. And they could just not agree in a sense, because she made such a beautiful point. She was like, well, I also use fabric, you also use canvas, and you hang it, and you also use paint on canvas, but I also use the same thing. I also paint on fabric, and I hang it, and I install it on the wall, or I hang it. Like, it's literally same motif.
Yes.
But how come mine is categorized under craft, as if like, oh, it's just a hobby for women, but yours is just like painting hold this kind of hierarchy, I guess, back in the 60s, and especially when it came from men, So that was that gender construction that was even played around art, even in here. And I think she made such a beautiful point to kind of differentiate that. She calls her work also painting, and she challenged a lot of that language back then. And I think even still today, a lot of young artists like myself and other textile artists are really interested, and she is a role model, I would say. So I'm really happy to have her in my backbone and always remind myself that like I'm also here to challenge this hierarchical things that is happening. Like, I mean, it is true, like Mama brought her work after 90 years to display it beside Pablo Picasso. I mean,
Right. Finally.
90 years, almost a century, guys.
Yes.
Like, yeah, take a moment. Interested in this idea of like kinship.
Mhm.
Maybe the little things that I learned from them, I'm trying to expand it more, and I'm trying to paint it so loud that it could take a space in art history, which is the Western art.
Mhm.
And I think that's an interesting gesture to make as an Afghan artist coming from my world. It's very small. No one knows this world, to be honest. But I'm trying to be as small as I am, louder as I can speak about my work and about other women's work too. So I think when I look, if I put myself back to Afghanistan, I feel like women, I think embroidery or sewing or rag making, they're still very much under the dilemma of like hobby. It's not considered as art that much there,
Mhm.
I must say, but I don't, to be honest, I don't have much knowledge of what's happening right now.
Yeah. What
or
is the art world in
what is the
Afghanistan?
art world
Yeah.
in Afghanistan? Exactly. I wish I had more kind of first person sources and answers to your question, to be honest. Like I really don't have much information, and I don't usually take information so much from media as well. It's more of like very humble approach from my own family members, that whatever they give me news or not, that's my point of connection to see how's art doing in Afghanistan. But so far that I know, art is not existent, I would say, these days. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
You said so much. I feel like there were so many aspects of the question, you know, and yes, in terms of like, you know, the art world in Afghanistan, women in Afghanistan, what women's work is doing there, you know, how it is to you, women's work in quotes, you know, and the representation of it, you know, now. So it's so layered, you know.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think the question is so ambiguous sometimes that I don't think I can fit in a way that like I always tell myself that I can't speak for many women. I can only speak for those women that I have been in touch with.
Exactly.
So that's like my work is really inspired by those like personal connection that I have. But I think you're also bringing interesting notion, because majority of the work or art that has been done in those countries or Central Asian countries is they call them like kind of invisible labor. That I'm also interested in that notion, because majority of the work, or whether there's professional, whether it's entertainment, or whether even it's domestic, is always considered as kind of like not important. It's invisible. No matter how much they achieve, they're not going to be equal to men's work or voice. So there's a huge battle there too.
Yeah. So they're often creating things that become the cultural heritage with the work that they're doing.
Absolutely.
But it's disregarded in so many ways.
So many ways.
And not legitimized is maybe a better word.
No, it is true. I can, you know, I don't know if this will connect or not. My sister, she's a filmmaker as well. And she did this beautiful documentary about 3 young Afghan singers in Afghanistan, and kind of seeing the world of that culture through these 3 main characters, and how they defined their art being so threatened by the society because they're doing so well. And 2, they're all singers, and they're attending this Afghan Star program, which we all have Afghan Star here, or no, American Star here. So it's like a replication of that used to play in Tulun News in Afghanistan. So she did a documentary about following these 3 characters, and it was for the first time one of the female won the Afghan Star, and that was like change history. But even them participating in that entertainment business, their families were like so upset, and they were threatening them, and public were threatening them that like you're bringing so much shame and this and that, or whatever they were wearing. Even they were being like commented by these religious figures and everything. So you could see it like anything that is around art, and if it's woman, it's like threatened. It's like so dangerous.
Right. That is
Yeah.
the threat, right? Is just
Exactly.
being a
Mhm.
woman.
Yes, it's just being a woman.
Yes, is
Let
threatening.
alone being
Unfortunately.
free and, owning your body and your thoughts and
Yes.
ideas.
Yeah.
In Afghanistan or in America.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seems.
Yes. Yeah, I also think about here too, surprisingly. No,
Yeah. I mean, I
absolutely.
think there are big changes coming.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, and what are you, it's amazing. So you became an artist, your sister, a filmmaker,
Yes.
and you have other siblings?
Yes, I have one younger brother, Waris. He's a soccer player and also model, actor as well. So
Everybody's
it's a
dream.
family of artists. Yeah.
Everybody
And
creative.
and my older brother is also a painter, and he's
Wow.
also
Wow.
an artist. Yes.
So, and how did your mother and father react to you all embracing creative careers?
Confused. I think beginning was, they were confused. That's why,
Mhm.
because in immigrant families to grow up, they want to see you to bring them paychecks.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's their,
That's the story
sign
we've
off.
heard. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We all heard
Yeah.
this story. So yeah, it's so repetitive, right? But so they were also expecting us to like have full-time job and any other careers. But no, I guess we didn't choose that scene. We all wanted to be like visual artists and express ourselves.
Amazing.
And I
Mm.
think it makes sense because I am proud of them that they allowed us to be who we are today. And I'm so proud of them for giving us that space of freedom to express ourselves in this world.
Mm.
And we are all over the world these days, to be honest. I think without them, we wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't be here sitting with you guys to speak about my experience. So
Right.
I thank them. They're my role models at the end. And I mean, of course, it takes like a huge battle for any families, to be honest. Even in American families, it's a hardship when
Yeah.
they see their children are being an artist or a musician or filmmakers. Like,
Yeah.
it is hard thing to swallow. I
Unless
must
you
say,
come from a
especially-
family of creatives, and then you're the next generation,
Definitely.
except for that, it's not
It's
easy.
not. If you're coming from a working class family, that's the box that they live in. Like it's
Yeah.
that. There's nothing outside that, right?
Mhm.
And so I understood their place, and I'm so happy that they also understood my place and they allowed me that. So
Amazing.
it's now they're proud of me. So finally,
And you've had a very busy year.
So,
A couple of
yes.
years. You've had a really busy couple of years. And so what does
Uh-huh.
this year hold for you?
this year I am working on couple of shows actually. One of my first show is opening at the Iskar Foundation in Canada, in Alberta.
Nice.
And it is a traveling show from the reminiscences that I talked about earlier.
Okay.
So it would be an entire exhibition would cover this body of work, and I'm bringing few new pieces there too.
And where is Gesker?
This one, Iskar Foundation is Alberta.
But what's the town? What's
It's
it?
in Calgary.
It's in Calgary?
I think
Okay.
it's Calgary, yes. And then from there, I'm going back to Vancouver for a solo show. No, for a 2-person show in Toronto that I have, and then from there to Vancouver, another solo. It's a traveling body of work to Vancouver, and then from there, I'm having my first solo show in the West Coast of here in LA that opens in April, which I'm quite excited about too.
Fantastic.
And
And where is that opening in LA?
it's at the Nazarian Curcio Gallery in LA. Beautiful gallery. I like working with them. And they've been waiting for the show for a long time. So finally I made it through. I was like, I'm bringing some intimate body of work, nothing major. So I'm excited to represent something in here again. And hopefully in the summer I might be in France for this another solo exhibition that I got recently
Wow.
invited.
That's
So much coming up.
I know. That's a big
Few things,
Yeah,
yes.
few things. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming to talk with us today. It's been really, really wonderful to have you here.
Thank
So
you so
thank
much
you.
for having me. This was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
And if you want to learn more about Hangama Amiri's work, you can visit HANGAMAAMIRI.com.
Please take a moment to hit the like button, rate us, and review the show. It makes a big difference in helping us reach more listeners.
Destination.
Your tax-deductible donations make this podcast possible. Please support us at internationalarrivals.org.